Hi everybody, this is Dane Hansen at Jungie Lincoln Volvo Mazda here in Cedar Rapids. I want to talk a little bit about electric cars today. Now, electric cars are in the news all over right now for good and bad reasons. And no matter which side of the fence you're on, I want to talk a little bit about when you should and when you shouldn't get one. Now, of course, keep in mind, this is just my opinion. I, of course, have been wrong before and will be wrong again. But I want to talk a little bit about the benefits and advantages and who kind of has the best use case for an electric car. For my guinea pig today, we're going to be using this 2021 Volvo XC40 Recharge. So the XC40 Recharge, as the name kind of indicates, is a Volvo XC40. Super nice, popular little SUV. But this one, because it's called a Recharge, is full electric. Now, there is some changes coming to the Volvo electric car lineup. We'll talk about that more a little bit later. But big thing to know right now is this one is a P8 all-wheel drive Recharge. So that means that this one is twin motor, has an electric motor in this rear axle and one in the front. We're gonna go ahead and climb in the car, get a little bit of noise insulation here. So, super comfortable car. We're gonna go ahead and pull this into drive so that the car kicks on and turn the fan on just a little bit. That way I don't overheat while I'm in here talking to you guys. So, the big thing, a couple little differences between this and the normal XC40. First of all, the seat material is a little bit different, but these do have the thigh extension, just like the normal XC40. A little bit hard to show on camera. And then, biggest difference, I suppose, is that there is not actually a start-stop button. Volvo figured that since there's no engine to start, there's not really a point in having a turn-on, turn-off button. You just get in, pull the car into drive, and away you go. When you put it in park and close the door, it turns everything off. Pretty easy to use. But this infotainment is exactly the same as normal Volvos, with one exception in the navigation that I'm going to talk about here in just a minute. But as you can see, this has a sunroof, pretty nicely equipped. The key is just a normal Volvo key, pretty easy to get along with. Not that different, you know, on the inside, really, from your normal XC40 and most other SUVs. So, examples of when you should buy an electric car, or people who have a good use case. The big thing with electric cars, of course, is that range number right there, and then how long it takes to charge. You can see our charger's way up there on the wall. So, when it comes to commuting, so driving around, you know, daily commuting, getting to and from work, to and from the grocery store, all those kinds of things, the little short trips we all do just in our day-to-day life, electric cars really shine here. They have smooth, instant power delivery. They're more efficient in terms of just an energy usage standpoint, and they're pretty quick. I'd say they're actually pretty fun to drive. They're also super quiet because, of course, there's no engine. So that keeps your road noise and overall kind of stress and strain pretty low. Electric cars really shine here. That's really where they're the best. Now, when should you buy an electric car? Well, like I was talking about with range, you see that 130 mile number right there at 76% charge. Now, Volvo and most manufacturers say don't charge your full electric car over 80% for day-to-day use. Just improves your battery longevity, which we'll talk about more in a little bit as well. So, if I go up here to maps like I was talking about, you can see that this is normal Google Maps. This one's pretty cool because it's got actual like imaging. And then you can see we've got this little lightning bolt up here. Apologize if this isn't focusing 100% for us yet. So you can see it'll show you all the different charge stations you're compatible to, how quick they are, how many stalls are open, and that kind of thing. Now, we're going to pretend like we're going to take a trip to my hometown of Sheridan, Wyoming. So I'm going to go in here and type in Sheridan, Wyoming. This is about 934 miles from here. And you'll notice it says multiple charges needed, 13 hours, quite a while. Now, if you are doing constant long haul driving, or this is going to be your only vehicle and you're going to be driving long distances constantly, then an electric vehicle is a little bit harder because you do get all the benefits on a normal commute like I mentioned. But the hard part is you need to plan more because you're going to have to go through and account for charging you know, if charging stations are working, and availability, if you're having to wait for people, those kinds of things. And depending on your location, obviously I'm over here in the Midwest, and Wyoming's pretty rural, say for those of you that aren't too familiar, takes a little while. So the infrastructure can be limited. Now, if you're in a major metro or on the east or west coast where there's charging stations are plentiful, that kind of thing, this becomes a lot less of a concern and an electric car becomes a lot more viable. Now, like I mentioned, if this is your only car and you're going to be doing long trips, makes it a little more difficult. But if this is your second car or your daily driver, so to speak, then you have a really good use case again, because on your day-to-day commute, you'll be driving around on electricity, which is far less expensive on gasoline. Obviously, there's a little bit of variation depending on where you live, how much you charge, how much you drive. But across the board, electric cars are generally less expensive to operate. They also don't have maintenance costs associated with a normal gas car. For example, there's no oil to change. There's no cabin air filters or normal air filters to replace. Your brakes tend to last a little bit longer because you're using regenerative braking. Those kinds of things can all be cost saving for you. Now, this is a pre-owned car, of course, like I mentioned, this is a 2021, but there are 2024s and 25s available from most manufacturers. Volvo is our only full electric car maker at the moment. They're coming out with a couple new models, but it won't be too long before Lincoln and Mazda catch up to them as well. And these are just going to become more and more common as time goes on. So, like I mentioned, if this is your second car, then you can kind of have the best of both worlds. You know, you can have a smaller, more efficient car that you drive around that's cheaper to drive and more fun to drive in the city. And I am saying that as someone who loves internal combustion. I'm a Mopar guy at heart, so big Hemi V8s are what I really love, but they burn a lot of gas and aren't always the most practical in commuting situations. And then if you have a gas or plug-in hybrid car or traditional hybrid as well for those long-haul trips like this, that can kind of give you the best of both worlds and make a little more sense. Now, is this a one-size-fits-all situation? No, not everyone's a great candidate for electric cars. You know, there are some additional considerations, like we obviously get snow here in Iowa, but only for part of the year. If you're somewhere where it's really cold or crazy hot all the time, that can make it a little bit harder as well. Those things slow down charging and have added strain on the battery. Depending on how much time you have to charge and what your day-to-day schedule looks like too, can also affect it. These are just things that need to be taken into consideration when you're looking at purchasing an electric car potentially. And then the other thing to keep in mind, especially when we're talking about new cars, is incentives. So Volvo right now, because they're not a US manufacturer and don't qualify for the US tax credit, they actually get a $7,500 minimum lease rebate. Now that program changes month to month, so this is current as of September 2024 when I'm making this video. Excuse me. Sometimes they do have additional lease bonuses, but that is a big chunk of change when it comes to leasing an electric car. And our dealership is particularly Jungi, Lincoln, Volvo, Mazda here in, I say Cedar Rapids, but it's Hiawatha. Basically, we're kind of a suburb. We recommend leasing electric cars pretty heavily. The reason being, electric cars are changing very quickly. So, for example, in 3 years from now, like I said, they're not going to make the XC40 recharge anymore. They're going to have the EX30 out. But ranges are going to get longer. Charge times are going to get faster. Technology is going to improve. Safety systems will get better. All of those kinds of things. And if you're leasing, then you're not falling behind. And if the value of your current electric car happens to drop, then you're not married to it and you're not stuck with outdated technology. That, of course, only applies to new cars. Pre-owned electric cars are great because, just like a normal gas car, they're considerably less expensive and just as good. A big thing with electric cars that gets talked about too is battery replacement costs. Now, it's no secret, the battery in this key fob is not very expensive. This is a couple dollars maybe. But when you're talking about a huge battery that's the whole floor length of this car, those can be pretty significant. It's not something you change very often, but the way Volvo and most manufacturers that make full electric cars handle their hybrid or plug-in hybrid or full electric systems is they have an 8-year, 100,000 mile warranty. So the battery in this car would run through from its original purchase date 8 years or 100,000 miles, whichever comes first. Some states like California are a little bit longer. They're 10 years, 150,000 miles. The nice part is battery cells and technology are getting better constantly. So it may be a situation where you can replace only a cell or two instead of having to replace the whole battery. Now, obviously, these are kind of general terms and you'll have to make your own conclusion on what you think, but that is something to keep in mind, that technology is getting better. And the batteries do come with a longer warranty than almost any gas engine or even diesel engine vehicle does. And all of these things can make a case for or against electric cars. Now, again, like I said, at the end of the day, these are just my opinions. This is kind of my take on it. I'm still new to the whole electric car field, but you know, they definitely have intrigued me. Usually, I use this little car when I have to run errands for our dealership, just because it's fun and easy to drive and pretty quick. Let me know what you think. If this video is helpful, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you like more like this. And if I missed anything, I'll try to do some more videos like this in the future as well. I'm going to go ahead and do a video on how to charge it up there next. And I'll see you in the next one. Dane Hansen, Jungie Lincoln Volvo Mazda.